Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to be analysing the live price action for EU and DXY to see what opportunities may be available for today. In this video you're going to see my strategy and my analysis, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Alright, starting off on the daily. What's the daily showing us? We're still fairly bullish, like we closed out yesterday as a bullish candle overall. However, it did have this long upper wick from sweeping the buy side liquidity from the previous daily high. So you can see that triggered some sort of pullback on that bullish activity. So possibly some kind of high test, but just to bear in mind that last we swept buy side liquidity, previous weekly high and daily high, right? On DXY, our inverse, we closed out as bullish after sweeping the same previous weekly low. So clearly there was some bullish pullback from that sell side liquidity there, and we found some support and possible resistance there, we could say. Now going into today, we have previous daily highs and lows still intact on EU. However, on DXY, previous daily high buy side liquidity has already been taken, and also there's a small imbalance fair value gap here that has also been mitigated. I guess that's overnight. They have different closing and opening times, right? So yeah, buy side liquidity taken, and I guess there'll be some sort of SMC divergence because of that. So let's dig into the lower time frames. Let's go down to the 4 hour and see what that's showing us. Right, so with the 4 hour, as I've been saying in the last few videos, we have our bullish leg here. It's pulled back into this possible 4 hour resistance, this order block, which seems to be holding price so far. We took previous weekly high yesterday and been bearish fairly ever since. And price, you can see, was stalling at that area, which also plays into that it's being met as resistance narrative. If we go down to our inverse DXY, same thing, price slowed and it looks like it possibly found its feet, took that sell side liquidity and had some bullish moves since. So possible signs of support here, possible signs of resistance here. We're in a premium, we're in a discount, we have the higher time frame confluence. So same as yesterday. However, we do look to be having more bearish move into the market now. A few 4 hour candles actually closing out as bearish after taking this buy side liquidity. So it was a case of, when's the buy side liquidity gonna take for us to maybe start getting a pullback towards a discount or just some lower prices. That's how I've been thinking of it anyway. So similar analysis to yesterday, as I mentioned, same confluences, still in the premium. Price is showing even more so that it's stalling, though there's no guarantees to that. We'll have to see that on the lower time frame. We can see clearly the previous daily high buy side liquidity swept, though that may have been overnight rather than fresh this morning. We have our imbalances up towards a premium and order blocks and imbalances towards this discount on EU. So I think it's fairly straightforward on the 4 hour. Not too much to go into. Price just seems to be stalling in this area mostly, and we've taken buy side liquidity most recently around where we have our POI. So let's go down to the 1 hour and see what that's showing us. So I think on the 1 hour that stalling becomes a bit more clear. Now this is an NFP wick candle, but as we got up into this area we have made that slightly higher high. So we haven't switched bearish on the 1 hour, let's say, just yet. But there is a lot of price action within a sort of range here. We're not exactly continuing bullish very well, right? Price has been corrective this whole time and now it's kind of sideways. If you look on DXY, it's the same deal, right? A lot of inside internal leg price action. We've taken that sell side liquidity and we was bullish and then into overnight and this morning. Okay, now we do have that SMC divergence at this area now, so that could indicate possible further weakness on DXY. Right, after we took the low, we did come up, we've gone above the previous daily high. Of course, we haven't gone below this low here or the previous daily low on EU, so we are around this area. So at the moment there is SMC divergence from this low here to this high low, and then we've got this high here to this higher high. Price is struggling to move. We can see at the moment it's still within some kind of internal range. Not loads of movement just yet, but I do think it is indicating some possible indecision and resistance still remaining at this area. Price just hasn't really picked a direction yet. So the structure isn't super clear. The things I'm just bearing in mind, I might be trying to die on this hill of shorting EU, as I do have a short bias in my trading in general. We have our resistance POI here, which is holding. We are in a premium and a discount. Price is moving a bit more sideways, a bit more internal range, right? And we have taken buy side liquidity from previous highs, previous weekly highs more recently. So it does build that sort of picture. But as I said in my recent videos, we do still need to see the structure shift, right, for us to give us confidence in direction. However, it's painting that picture for me just because of where price is, that I think the shorts are an eventuality, but that's just my opinion. Okay, that's the story I can create from this price action. Now the negative to that is, yes, we have some SMC divergence on DXY, some buy side liquidity swept there, which created that, which may cause lower prices, but that may have just caused this small little pullback here. So again, that's why we're waiting for structure, waiting for these structural lows to go possibly to give us more confidence in that direction. So the 1 hour, similar to the 4 hour, we have our POIs down here, which possible future confluences and POIs, but draws on price. We still have this trend line, sell side liquidity, sell side liquidity, sell side liquidity below these lows here, below this low, below this low, below this low, right? So I eventually see price coming for these. You just don't know when. So we are moving fairly bearish over the last 3 hours, just not with much momentum. So let's go down to the M15 and see what that shows us. M15 currently shaping up nicely, I think, for my bias. There was nothing for me to get into already this morning, but let me explain this price action here. So again, we have this SMC divergence as a negative. I'll address those first, and that buy side liquidity from above these highs. However, yesterday's New York session here, I took an L, by the way, trying to short here just for visibility. We swept buy side liquidity above previous weekly highs, right? And I say swept, but I loosely just mean we mitigated buy side liquidity and began to break down. So overnight we broke down, breaking below this low slightly. We pulled back, mitigated this area here and into Asia, broke down. So we've got breaker structure here. We've pulled back to that M15 order block above here. We have preserved the highs of Asia so far this morning, right, into Frankfurt and London, pull back here, and are possibly breaking down again, right? So this will be another lower low, breaker structure here. So we're seeing some M15 order flow enter the market for our bearish bias. Same on our inverse DXY, right? We have our order block here, we have this high here, we pulled back, mitigated this, new high, pulled back, possibly mitigating this, waiting for that new higher high. Right, and if we drop down to the M5 quickly, you can see M5 structure has been shifting that way, right, and breaking down. So we've got this strong breaker structure here, order block here. We have, if I go back up to the M15 for a second anyway, we swept these lows. We swept all of these lows here, okay, on DXY. So that's sell side liquidity sponsorship. Now we're having momentum. We didn't sweep these highs here. So SMC divergence indicating weakness on EU. Now, momentum has entered the market. We've left behind an M15 order block here. Now, personally, when I have an M15 order block and breaker structure, if that happens, I usually just use the M15. Okay, I don't usually go down to the M5 because the M15 could be respected. But let's see what it looks like on the M5. Be a similar sort of entry area. So we've got our breaker structure on the M5 already. Now it's an M5 breaker structure. So whichever time frame you prefer, right? We've got that M5. I wouldn't really call this the M15 breaker structure, but hopefully we have that here now. So just to draw it out on the M15, we've got possible breaker structure here, but we've got the M5 breaker structure anyway. M15 order block with possible imbalance, right? In 12 minutes, once this candle closes, we'll have that imbalance there. We can set our order around this area here. Stop loss just above the order block, right? And target the lows or wherever your targets are, Okay, so hopefully we will get that pullback. Again, possible pullback here. Possible break of structure here. Right, so possible corrective pullback after this. Okay, we may get something like this, or faster back, I don't know, and then that will go down that way. We will have possible inducement around this area here from the corrective pullback, and then we will have our order at the order block here to go lower in price. So we will currently have, unless we break this high on DXY, to have a higher high, we'll have SMC divergence again if we pull back before that job is done. So yes, that will be a negative. So let's take a quick look at the M5. The M5 will be similar, like you can have a similar entry here even on the M5. So I don't see that as much different from the M15. I would still want my stop loss above here, because I wouldn't put it here on the M5 because we do have this sort of cluster of price action. However, it looks better, you could say, on the M5 because the structure break is very clear, and we've got the same structure break here on DXY. Right, you can see where we was failing to make those higher highs at first, swept that low again, right, because I was initially eyeing up an entry here if we had broke that low properly. We swept that low, sell side liquidity sponsorship, now we're bullish, now we're bearish, and we're just waiting for this pullback. I think this looks good. This follows the narrative. Asia highs hopefully holding. Obviously we've mitigated the sell side liquidity of Asia now, but I do think that it goes with the buy as well. Back up to the M15 just to wrap this up. That's the opportunity I see this morning. I've been bearish bias for a couple of days now, caught an L yesterday trying to go for that bearish bias, which looked good on the M5. So I was wrong on that one, which is fine. Today, this looks really good. Hopefully we get the pullback and it doesn't just go for it, take those previous daily lows without us. So that's everything. I hope that was clear. I hope you gained value from that. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.